I'd have to wait. Hold up.
You do?
Hold up.
That's it. Okay. Just the Earth rotating for now? Okay.
The Earth is. I'm just trying to set up a virtual background here, guys.
Tess, hey Lars, can you hear me?
I can. How's it going?
Okay. So you can't see any of us, correct?
No, I can just see the Earth.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. We're having trouble streaming to...
I'm trying to set up a virtual background, by the way, because I haven't. It looks terrible.
I don't... Lars... Okay.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do. I don't know if it'll work for you because you don't have a green screen, but it...
Oh, yeah, that might not work. Yeah, again. Let's see what happens. You can do the blur?
I wonder if people can hear it. Yeah, there you go.
It still looks pretty weird.
That's fine.
I can't see y'all.
I can tell you don't want me
worry.
to experiment with this.
Relax. We'll get...
But on this video.
When I switch from what's running is a screen that only people watching can see.
I know
that is telling them we're getting ready to start.
Right. So I'll
when
see.
I switch from that to us, you'll see everybody.
Got it.
Yep.
I feel like I should do. The blur is probably better.
Oh, yeah.
I've gone to the. All right.
All right, let's try this here. Okay, so that showed up. All right, Lars, you ready to go?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm going to switch this over to the countdown. Well, there was the first error. It wasn't supposed to be on loop. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Qatar Kick Around live stream on YouTube and Twitch. We'll actually have this embedded onto the website before we actually start doing this, but we wanted to try to test feed this first for everybody. Now, right now, currently, we're streaming it to Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. On Twitch and YouTube, I'm told that you can ask questions in the chat room, and they'll show up here, and we'll be able to ask them. So we'll do a little Q&A for you guys if you'd like to do that. And so the first question, I'm going to show this question here from Jason. Hello, are we supposed to be seeing something other than the globe? Now you are, yes. So hopefully you are seeing something other than the globe. That would be great.
Jason.
Thanks for asking a question, Jason. That worked well. I wonder if that came from YouTube, that looks like.
You can even ask on Twitter, right? Like if you just
I think if you reply to the tweet, you may want to try. If somebody can reply to the tweet, that would be cool. Also, if somebody specifically is watching on Twitch, because that's one of the features, we're using StreamYard. And I'm curious to know if somebody watching it on Twitch can ask a question and have it appear here. So thank you very much. All right. So everybody knows what's going on is starting. Hopefully people have been enjoying our primers, the primer and previews. Let me turn this light on here. And I need to make sure that I look my best. Oh, first off, there's Andy. Say hello, Andy. Say hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Peter. Lars, good to see you.
And Lars is in a park right outside
Yeah.
London Bridge.
Yeah, you know, the weather has unexpectedly cleared up here. in London.
It's a nice November day in London.
Have you thought about raking the front yard first,
Yeah,
Lars?
it's unseasonably bright for 8 p.m. in London. I'm not sure what's happening with the stratosphere to cause this. No, I'm sat in my side room and it's haunted, really, visually speaking. So I've blurred the background for now. We'll see what we do. You know, all houses have this kind of room that if you don't know where it goes, you just shove it in that room. That's the house I also have as an office. So the background here is not fit for human eyes or animal eyes, really any eyes.
It looks good. Now, an update. We have a Twitch comment from Uncle Lars.
Uncle Lars, excellent.
Who asked us a question. So the Twitch chat integration works as well. So that's great. So hopefully more people. So we thought we would test this by giving everybody an opportunity to do for us to do a Q&A for anybody that wants to ask questions about our coverage of the World Cup, or want to ask Lars about his ankle surgery, or Andy about his foodie fetish.
Yeah, let's talk food.
Ooh,
all day long.
Oh God, I didn't know that about you, Andy. We have so much to talk
Lars.
about.
That's why I keep saying, come to Dallas.
Yeah, man.
I'll cook dinner for you.
He's quite the cook, apparently.
Or you come to London. You come to London, I'll show you where people make nice things here.
Fair.
So we've been doing the previews and primers this week. Andy and I will do a live kick around on the ticket on Saturday. The first game, which is Qatar and Ecuador, is Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And then that afternoon, we will get together and we will record our first daily wrap-up show, which will mostly be a preview show of Monday's big U.S.-Wales game. And then that will obviously we'll obviously turn that into a pod, but we'll also be live streaming, and that's the hence of this thing right here, which is just trying to get everybody used to this part of it, because the idea behind what we're trying to do here is give people an opportunity, if they don't want to wait for the pod, if they just want to watch us and see this live when we record it, all of our screw up and foibles and stuff. And
we are exposed.
In my shiny forehead. I'm so.
Does that mean I can't swear anymore when something goes wrong? That's very frustrating for me.
I think you can.
And say like rampantly libelous things off air.
Yeah.
This presents a whole new level of challenge for me, but I'll get with it.
Hey, look, a very nice Teresa comment from Teresa Scott on the chat. She tells us we're looking good.
It's very kind of you, Teresa. I think she was sensing that I was insecure about just how bold I am these days, and she wanted to, reinforce my confidence in particular.
See, I thought because you were outside, it was chilly, and you had your hoodie on just to keep yourself warm.
It's not very windy, though. I don't see any of the leaves moving.
Yeah, Lars, you really need to rake your backyard. Your garden needs a raking. So could you get to that, please, sir?
That's true. Also, I need to speak to some scientists about why it's so bright. It seems like people talk about global warming. I mean, this sort of global lighting situation is very strange at London right now.
I'm eating my cookie. Sorry, that's probably rude to do
So,
on camera.
Lars,
that's a good question from Uncle Lars here, and I do hope Uncle Lars clears up. Are you an uncle named Lars, or is it a Star Wars reference? Because either way, I'm hugely in favor.
What is the Star Wars reference?
No, if you don't know, then
oh, come on. Well, how we look at him?
Come on, Peter.
Okay.
Look at him.
Wait, Uncle Lars is a Star Wars reference? Or
yes. Oh my God, you're
I'm sorry. Okay.
Anyway,
whatever.
Uncle Lars.
I'll explain it to you off air. We're burning our time here.
Uncle Lars did ask the question I was just about to ask you, Lars, because you are in London.
Yeah.
Pete and I, some games we'll watch together, some we won't, some in studio, mostly at home. But you in London, when the U.S. plays England, or I guess when England plays, period, first game is against Iran on Monday while the U.S. plays Wales. Where do you watch, and where do people, are they going to pubs? Are they watching at home? All of the above? Watching parties? How does it work in London?
Yeah, so the thing, I mean, so going to pubs en masse has always been a big deal. And, pubs will have gardens out. I mean, usually this will be in the summer. So pubs will have gardens out the back and it'll be shown there. What became particularly huge, I think it was 2018 when it really kicked off, were big, sort of slightly more commercialized public showings. Especially in a series of spaces called Box Park, where they have sort of pop-ups, food stalls, and it's on a big screen and people can show beer. I've also watched England games and tournaments here in sort of concert venues where they put it on big screens.
Wow.
I mean, that's something that occasionally happens. And people watch it in pubs and people watch it at home. Me personally, for this tournament, I'll be watching everything at home because I think we're recording pretty much immediately after the game, right?
That's right.
Whereas normally,
Fresh.
Yeah, if I'm just watching for joy, like for the final of the Euros, where I was frankly really bogged down from working too much during that tournament, and when I'd done all my preview stuff for the final, and I had nothing post game, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to my local pub, and that was an Irish pub down the road, and that was an interesting place to watch England v Italy, right? Because the locale was split down the middle between Irish people and Italian people, so everyone were rooting for Italy, basically.
This is one thing we haven't thought about with the tournament being played in the Northern Hemisphere winter, are watching parties back home, the countries participating in their own watching parties. A lot of these are held in outdoor areas. Typically during a World Cup,
Yeah.
it's going to be cold.
Yeah,
This World
that's a good
Cup.
point.
So I think there'll be a little less of that, and maybe more inside pubs.
I've been really impressed with the list of places that are lining up watching parties here in Dallas. The good guys at Petacolas, by the way, Uncle Lars has told us that's where he's going to watch it. This is what reminds me of this, is that FC Dallas is hosting a series of watching parties up at Toyota
They're
Stadium.
getting thousands up there.
Yeah. But the one that really caught me off guard is that new small music venue that Mark Cuban opened up right across the street from here off of I-35 called Echo. The Echo venue or the Echo Hall or whatever. They're showing all the games there too. Yeah. And I've seen 3 or 4 other places announce that they're doing, I mean, just in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's going to be a lot of different choices. I'm happy to promote any and all of them. We did talk for a little bit about doing this production live from Petacolas. The guy at Petacolas couldn't have been nicer. And it was a really cool idea because it would have been fun to do it with the atmosphere and the crowd, but technical things really kept it from happening. And so there's going to be a lot of cool places to check that out. So
I'm going to ask you, light or no light? Is the light too bright?
No.
Better with light?
Well, it's up
What
to
do you
you.
think?
You can turn that light down. You can,
Yeah, I'll dim it a little bit.
Yeah,
Seems
whatever.
bright. This is why we do this test run.
That's right.
you know?
Now, see, now you've turned the light away. Now you've got this weird.
I'm looking at
The comments are good. I'm enjoying this. Thank you, Eddie. I am Eddie Middlebrook here. I am going for the Unabomber look. That's exactly. I watched that thing with Paul Bettany playing him recently, and I felt very inspired. I mean, I disagree with his politics and his methods, but he was an accomplished outdoorsman. I guess you have to give him that.
All right. We did we were doing this test run disguised as a World Cup Q&A. So let's throw in our first World Cup question. Jason asks, Pulisic is obviously a very talented player. He seems to be the face of our team, but should he be starting over Gio or Aronson? Or would I not be asking if he was getting regular minutes for Chelsea? Andy, would you like to answer this question?
I think the first question, or the first thing we should say is he necessarily starting over Gio or Aronson? Can Gio and Christian be on the field at the same time? I think they
Lars?
can.
Yeah, because I also pricked up on this because whether you call it a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 or whatever you want to call it, or a diamond, I always see Aronson as being more a part of the midfield unit there, whichever shape you end up putting it in, whereas Pulisic is more, he starts out wide and he wants to go on his dribbling runs, and not that he can't come centrally, but he's more of someone who makes an impact in the final third, whereas Aronson is active more all over the place, is kind of how I see it. But the Gio versus Pulisic thing is interesting. And I would think you know this team better than I do. But given, I mean, we talk about Pulisic having a lack of minutes. Gio hasn't played that much for Dortmund either because of injury and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the idea there is that if Pulisic is starting on the left wing, it's Weah starting on the right, right? I mean, that's what it would be in a 4-3-3.
Yeah, I think this is one of the interesting questions tactically about the team that Berhalter has a problem is he has almost too many options to choose from, and
at certain positions.
It's well, at least in terms of the midfield forward,
Right.
he's got a lot of options, and I think there's a pretty common discussion that takes place that of maybe the person to take off the field is Weston, and they play a 4-2-3-1 with Musa and Tyler is kind of a double pivot with Aronson in front of them centrally, or Gio in front of them centrally and Aronson out wide, or swapping, letting them swap naturally. There's a lot of thought that that's a better use of their talents and their strengths.
But I noticed you didn't say Pulisic central. You want him to stay out in the wing.
I don't think Pulisic plays well centrally. I think he's better when he's got.
So 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Either way, you want him on the wing.
Well, 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 are very different formations.
Right, but both of them you have him on the wing.
Yes, correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But that the problem with doing that is because Aronson is a guy that is clearly in form and playing very well. Mm-hmm. To get him on the field, you got to take somebody off. And is that Weah or is that one of the MMA guys, Musa, McKennie, or Adams? It's definitely not Adams. It might be Musa, but Musa's been balling out for Valencia. McKennie's the one that hasn't been playing a lot lately.
So one thing to talk about that we should address on our shows, and I don't think we really hit upon it in a big way in our previews, even though we talk about depth a lot, but rotation is extremely important during a World Cup. And some managers, some coaches will start a certain lineup and team against one opponent, and they'll throw a different look against a different one. And there's no reason to think that Berhalter doesn't have a plan for Aronson starting one game or just different combinations for different games. But rotation is extremely important.
I was going to interrupt you guys earlier and say that when you mentioned like maybe starting Musa and Tyler in midfield together and just dropping Weston McKennie, like that might make sense against Iran. It would make less sense against England. Like it's
right, exactly.
These are going to be three very different games, I think, and you approach them slightly differently. Perhaps.
Yep. Sorry, I'm communicating with somebody back at headquarters to make sure that this is all going the way they want it.
Are they excited? Are they excited that I'm doing this outdoors and in the daylight? Because that
in a completely still windless day.
I have
a lot of technological know-how to make this happen.
I have an email from corporate saying, "Wait, you told us Lars was in London."
That is London.
Has Lars been lying to you? Is he actually in LA?
I thought of that. I honestly thought of that when I set that background, because this actually looks more suspicious than my terrible room.
I think your room doesn't look as bad as you think it does.
I just heard you send off an email.
I did. That's part of the downside.
Guys, if you think my head has the Unabomber look right now, wait until I turn off the background and show you the room.
All right, we'll ask some more we'll answer some more questions here in a little bit. The other thing that I have to test out is because part of what we're doing with the podcast with Westwood One is trying to help everybody generate revenue, and to do that, we have to let them insert ads into the podcast, which means we have to take breaks. So, assuming that we're going to take breaks while we're on a live stream, we have a commercial to show, and I'm gonna run the commercial spot. Okay. This is the first time I think anybody's will have seen this. This is good from our good friends at Soccer 90. And everybody will get sick of seeing it because it's going to get run 1,000 times over the course of the next month. But we're just going to take a break for a minute and try this out, and we'll be back and we'll answer some more questions. Feel free to throw them into the chat rooms, and we will go from there. So everybody stand by for this delightful minute.
That was nice.
Oh, yeah. So we're just run a little of this in the background. See?
I feel like the music is not. It's like boutique hotel lobby music.
Yeah.
Is that the
Sure.
what the sound you're going for?
I don't know if I'm going. It's what was given to me in the
okay.
platform. Now the music in the ad they chose.
No. I'm talking about this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, it's just whatever. So
Like when you're waiting for the elevator at a swanky boutique hotel, this is kind of what you hear.
Well, I'm guessing we're not on now.
can you hear me?
Are we making fun of our own elevator music?
Yeah, a little bit. No, I like it.
No, if he that's the question. Hold
I
on a
think he
second.
can hear us. Lars, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Everything's
hear us.
Okay, what I don't know is if people can hear us during the commercial
Yeah.
or not.
So we're
we'll
speaking
ask that question.
casually, but
Yeah.
but within the bounds of.
So if you guys can hear us while this thing that says Qatar Kick Around will be right back is on the screen, please send us the text. Oh, it's, okay. So
thank you, Teresa.
Yes, thank you, Teresa. Excellent.
I kind of thought they weren't. So
So this is the part where I don't
say.
say bad things about Teresa or Jason. No, they're very
Or
nice.
anyone,
or
really.
anybody for that matter.
The
No.
internet's
All right,
forever.
so let's turn this
Get
off.
canceled.
All right, hey, look, everybody, we're back.
Mm.
Learning how to live stream. I'm so modern.
How's
We're
your-
all so modern.
How's your cookie, Peter? It's kind of rude you're eating while we're doing a show.
I needed some sugar. My sugar levels were low.
Where are they now?
All right, let's see. Do we have any more? We don't have a lot of people watching. All right, so everybody said they could hear us.
I've written like 5,000 World Cup preview today. All my levels are low. No levels.
How many
are
different
currently
World
high.
Cup preview pods have you been on? I know you've been on ours, and you've been on Football Weekly now too, haven't
actually,
you?
Yeah, but I haven't recorded my own Norwegian one yet, so I have to do that afterwards. I might have to add some artificial caffeine to my bloodstream for that one.
Do you vary from podcast to podcast, article to article, who you pick as your favorites? And
No, I don't do
No?
that.
You stay
but I try not to
consistent?
say the
Yeah.
same thing all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
But it's hard,
I have.
right?
It's hard because I think I might have changed my mind about some stuff since we recorded.
You heard our
Um,
opinions and you clearly like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, that
no,
doesn't make any sense. I need to do something.
No, I
else."
am thinking a lot about what you were talking about in particular, Andy, when we recorded our previews about how there are always upsets, right? And this is, I think, my biggest challenge as like a forecaster in football is that I'm way too logical. I always look
Well,
at,
you
okay,
have to
that's-
be, though, because the surprises are surprises because they're a surprise. It's so hard to. You have to like roll the dice to pick the one you think will happen, right? I mean, you're handicapping surprises at that point. It just doesn't work that way. So,
Yeah.
they're still the favorites and the teams that have more quality than the others, and that's, I guess, our job is to show that and
Yeah.
then say, one of these teams will probably hit a road bump.
All right,
Yeah,
I want to
I'm
try
just
something.
looking at my
here.
wall chart. This is a great question from.
No, hold on. Don't, Lars. Don't do anything. Don't do
Okay.
anything yet. All
Damn
right.
it.
I want to ask this. I'm going to let Adam's question appear here,
Okay.
and I want you to answer. Read
What
the
about-
question out loud, please, Lars.
Oh, is this the thing? What about eggs? Is this a thing?
That's the thing. Yes. So you need to tell us what about eggs, Lars? This is a ticket. This is a
Oh, I
very
got-
ticket
Oh
specific
no! I
bit of humor.
I really wish I knew the reference, but I don't. Sorry, guys.
So just tell us what you think about eggs.
They're good. Like I cook them occasionally. Is this their joke here now that I'm not getting?
It's an old ticket reference to a long time ago, and it pops up every once in a while. Yeah, actually, he asked the follow-up question is this:
Have
you thought about eggs?
yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about eggs constantly now. Yeah.
Don't worry, Lars. You're not being set up for anything.
I'm almost certain. I feel like I'm almost certainly being punked.
No, you're not. I think this is a far better question from the same person.
Well, I have given this some thought, and actually, yes, I do have a superpower, which I can make people on public transport in London be polite to me.
Oh.
Which is really actually breaking my leg in multiple places was the only way of achieving this, I have to say. But now you can't make them not get up from their seats. It's crazy. Like, because my physio has told me that I should move around a lot, right? So if I'm on the underground trying to get somewhere, I just stay standing, because the leg needs a little bit of exercise now, and people keep trying. Old ladies try to get up so I can sit. I'm like, no, old lady, please stop. You need this seat more than me. This is not. If anything, there's too much politeness, which I never thought I'd say.
Well, I think that's a wonderful superpower. Here's a good question for Andy, because this is where Andy gets to brag to everybody.
Oh no,
Andy, what's your title for FIFA correspondent again? And do you have any duties this World Cup?
No, my allegiance is to the kick around. My duties are to cover the World Cup for kick. I am a FIFA match commissioner. Officially, that's the as a
now explain, because I think people
consultant.
hear that and they think you're like a referee or something.
Yeah, no, and I don't.
I was thinking you're the next Chuck Blazer, but that's a whole different thing.
No. Yeah, that's an offline conversation, Lars.
That's the deep cut.
No, I am a match official, but not one of the referees. I essentially for FIFA qualifiers, for World Cup qualifiers, I represent FIFA at the event, making sure the qualifier or the match gets off and gets delivered as it should. I'm also a match commissioner for CONCACAF, where I do the same kind of thing for like Champions League games. And
so talk about the specifics of what that job entails, and like when you have to get there and what you have to do, and if you can, if there's things, if it's like a secret society and you're not allowed to, I don't want to.
Is there a handshake?
I don't want. Yeah, I don't want you to get in trouble.
There are talking points where no, just kidding. So I get.
Like when do you hand the envelopes over?
I arrive to the match venue, the match city, at what we call MD-2, match day -2, so 2 days out, and then you have meetings with all the appropriate local organizing committee people, the security, the stadium personnel, emergency services, the team personnel. You have a match coordination meeting where you get on the same page. You get both teams on the same page with the uniforms they're each going to wear, so you don't have color conflicts the day of match. You talk about anything specific to that match that might be different, or specific elements to that tournament or that match, qualifiers and Champions League and club matches, for example, as opposed to World Cup qualifiers, have different things that teams need to know as far as protocols and such. So basically, you're the eyes and ears, and also kind of you're there in a supervisory position for FIFA or for CONCACAF, depending on the level of match. And then if there are issues, then it's your responsibility to get involved, intervene, and either take it to a higher level within FIFA or CONCACAF, or resolve the issue yourself.
What is the biggest match you've ever been commissioner of?
Well, for me, it would be at the club level, Champions League finals, and then
like the UEFA Champions League final.
No, the CONCACAF, because I'm in the CONCACAF region, right? Yeah, the CONCACAF Champions League final. And,
the one in Seattle?
Well, no, not this one, but prior ones.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
And like I did the Tigres Club America final one year. And then at the FIFA level, it would just be World Cup. I have never worked a World Cup, so it'd be the qualifiers.
Okay.
You know, any number of World Cup qualifiers.
Now, this is my favorite version of this question. What's the most obscure soccer match you've ever officiated?
Ooh, yes.
Well, in terms of exotic locations, you know, within CONCACAF, you know, you're flying not just through Central America and the Caribbean. You're also going to Suriname and Guyana, who happen to be part of. They're not part of CONMEBOL.
Makes no sense.
So yeah, because they're in continental South America. But you know, having worked matches at those venues, that was interesting because they're not considered soccer nations, and so the infrastructure was a challenge at times. There's, you know, interesting destinations in the Caribbean, little soccer minnow countries that don't have a lot of experience putting on matches, and every 4 years, you know, this is why the Nations League matches were introduced. So these little countries get to host more of these games and gain experience, not just on the field, but off the field as well, organizing these type of events. But, you know, early in the process, before those countries had a lot of experience, those were interesting and challenging matches to work. And then at the club level, there's, you know, sometimes for Champions League, you go into like deep inside, Central American countries, and you work venues that are small and clubs that are not well known because they just happen to qualify into Champions League, and those are interesting too. They're all fun. They all bring their set of challenges that matches in the Caribbean bring a different set of challenges than matches in Central America or North America bring.
I'm going to ask the question I know Lars is thinking, and everybody watching this, the 5 people watching this. Have you ever felt like your life was in danger officiating a match?
Well, I don't officiate them.
Being the match
but
commissioner.
But wearing the FIFA suit.
Whatever
in the
match
stands.
you were commissioning, have you ever felt like your life was in danger?
No, not within the confines of the stadium. There've been some tricky situations sometimes outside of the stadium, and nothing to do with the actual match or the competition itself, but just political unrest within that country, and you're sometimes put in situations where you don't feel very safe, and that's rare, but it happens. But inside the confines of the stadium, no. And you think by wearing the FIFA suit, you're going to be the object of a lot of scorn and hate, and in some cases they do associate you with the unsavory elements of FIFA. FIFA's past.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm just part of the competition group. We're there just to make sure that the game gets off properly and gets played.
I was going to make a lame joke about you mostly feeling in danger on final approach on the plane in, but I mean, it seems like this...
So we can talk about those because there's a few tricky airports. There's the famous one in Tegucigalpa, which they don't use anymore, which is considered one of the top 10 most dangerous airports to land in. And basically, what happens is you have to there's only one landing direction, right? So the plane has to pass the strip, turn around, do a 180, do a U-turn, and then bank down very steeply, get over a hill and down on the runway, all very quickly. And the runway is very short, so then you come to an immediate stop. So it's a hard touchdown and then an immediate stop. Taking off, it's really interesting. It's not as dangerous, but you do have to clear that hill. And so the captain will take the plane to the end of the runway. And the first time I was flying out of Tegucigalpa, the guy sitting next to me goes, "Have you ever flown out of Tegucigalpa?" And I said, "No, this is my first, but I'm happy I survived the landing." So that, and people clap when after you land there, people clap as everything's good. But so he's like, okay, so what the captain's going to do is he's going to go to the end of the strip, and he's basically going to put one foot on the brake pedal as he can, and then he's gonna let go of the brakes, and then we're gonna fly out of here. I'm like, okay, right.
It's like how I drive a rental car.
Sure enough, captain goes to the end of the strip, pushes down on the brakes. You hear the engines just rev up, and then you just shoot out of there. It's like,
and your phone hits the floor and slides to the back of the plane.
And he's like, "Yeah, it's fun." He's laughing. He's like, "This is like my 50th time to." I'm like, "Great." I'm glad I had him next to me. At least I got to have a little bit of color analysis while we took off. So.
See, I want to go there now. You've sold it to me. I enjoy.
But they don't use that airport anymore for that very
I
reason. It was a little too dangerous.
I may have read about this. We have a lot of these no, we're really getting into the weeds here, but we have a lot of these sort of short field airports on the coast of Norway.
In Norway, you do,
a lot of fun flying you can do there if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah. So when you fly from London to Norway, when you go home, you fly to Oslo and then reconnect, or do you have direct flights?
No, straight to Stavanger, because London is such an incredibly popular tourism destination. So there are a lot of people going here, and really, I mean, I'd almost forgotten this, but going to a football game in London this weekend for the first time in a while, like there are Norwegians everywhere, man. I mean, there's so many of them. It's like everywhere you go around a Premier League ground, certainly in the big stadiums, you can hear Norwegian speakers. It's we're everywhere.
Let's see. Any other World Cup things that have? This is something I wanted to ask you guys because we didn't mention it during the preview of Group A in the Netherlands. I was doing some research last night. Lars, were you or Andy, were you aware that Louis van Gaal is battling cancer?
Yes.
Like he has been, like during qualification, he was undergoing a series of radiation treatments for prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And this is his last coaching gig. Is he terminal, Lars?
Not that I know of, and I think cancer doesn't know who it's messing with there. I mean, you got to pick on someone your own size. I think that's the Louis van Gaal is he's such a larger than life character. I know that this doesn't really play into it, but if anyone can keep that stuff at bay, it's him.
Yeah, I had not heard or seen anything, I just missed it.
No, it was a story over here. Yeah,
really. That's crazy. I mean, the fact that he went through all that and he's still coaching the team is pretty impressive.
Well, what we know about this Dutch team is that they don't have the internal issues that a lot of the Dutch teams of the past have had, and is that a rallying cry for them? I mean, he's been able to keep that room together and harmony within the group,
well, what
which
should
is
be said?
difficult.
I just wanted to recheck this because I think he is considered in the clear now to the extent that when you're 71 and you have to be treated. I mean, he had 25 radiation treatments for prostate cancer,
Wow.
so he's really gone through it. And of course, when you're that age and you have that, you always worry that it'll come back, of course. But I believe he's clear for now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well. Phew.
Hey, so the one thing about World Cup and I just saw this stat this morning, and as we talk about the U.S. national team Group B with England, Wales, and Iran, didn't realize. I mean, we were talking about how much experience Iran has, and they've made the last 3 World Cups, and that's many more World Cups than any player has played on Wales. Or the U.S. basically, because the Wales hasn't made a World Cup since '58, and there's only one player on the U.S. who has previous World Cup experience. But they're old. Iran is old.
Yeah,
they're the oldest team, right? Or tied for the oldest average age.
I don't know if you guys have seen. There's a really good data guy, a data visualization guy named Steve Fenn, and he does these tableaus. And he did one the other day that breaks down the range of ages for each of the teams, and then even breaks it down by position. And what's interesting about the United States is the United States is not the youngest roster in the tournament. Senegal is.
No, Senegal or Ghana?
Or Ghana. I'm sorry, Ghana. And if you take Tim Ream out of the U.S. is the youngest by a mile. Okay. Ream is the one that sets it over the top. Okay. I'll find it and I'll put it up on our Twitter account. I think
you did.
I think I did too. If you go look in our Twitter feed, that tableau's in there. Steve does magical graphic work like that, and it's really fascinating because you find out Argentina's a slightly. But what I was fascinated by is there is no team in the tournament whose average age is 30 or greater. All the average ages are in the 20s.
Yeah, at 28 is the oldest average age, but Iran has several guys over 30.
Yeah.
And the average age of the World Cup champions is 26. And I'm sure that's creeped down through the years. I'm sure it was older earlier in history, and that's soccer's becoming more and more of a young man's game. Although in the World Cups, balance is important. But, I know I had talked up the virtues, or not the virtues, but the opportunity that perhaps Iran has to advance out of the group with the issues that Wales has and with the issues that we feel the U.S. has, even though I still think the U.S. is a 50-50 chance of advancing and probably greater chance of advancing slightly than Wales and Iran. But when it came down to predicting, Peter wasn't making up his mind, and I said, well, if I change mine from the U.S. advancing to Iran, will you pick the U.S.? And he did, so I went with Iran. And I don't feel bad about that pick, but I feel less good about it, knowing that
they're older.
They're a little bit. They don't have enough youth. You have to have balance.
Yeah.
Now that's to win the world. That's to win. Early on, it won't matter as much, maybe, right?
Yeah, no, they're going to be low block-tastic.
Yeah, right.
They're just going to
Yeah.
park all the complete sort of Roman
But
testudo formation,
They're not going to want to get caught. That's the issue. They're going to have to score a goal at some point if they're going to advance, and that means exposing
I was
themselves.
about to say set pieces. You got to win the set pieces in the first place. Like, you got to get them. I was looking again, as is my want, at the betting odds, and I was a little bit surprised because you're right. In my mind, it was kind of 50-50 between the US and Wales. Now, I think the bookmakers have it as being 50-50 between you two, and then Iran quite far back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's tighter between those three. I might be over-exaggerating, but it's something about the ruggedness that Iran have shown in previous World Cups. Remember, they were in the tough group last time around, and they didn't get wiped out by any, they beat Morocco, and they got they only lost 1-0 against Spain, and they got a draw against Portugal, right? Which is pretty solid thing for them. So I just think they might be niggly and difficult to play against. But then you read about, I'm having this thing when I'm writing about it. You start finding good things about all the teams, right?
Right. Of course, it makes it hard, and maybe I place too much stock too in cultural comfort in the World Cup era you're playing in, and I just base that on history and how history has played out, and it is a factor, has been in the past, and I just wonder if it'll help Iran a little bit playing in the Middle East. First time in an Arab country. Croatia, Eastern European country, was the dark horse that went far in Russia. In 2014, Colombia, who felt very at home in the climate and the environment in Brazil, had a really, really good tournament. They were eliminated by Brazil in 2014, and Argentina got to the final. I think we picked Argentina to get to the final with Brazil that year. You and I, Peter.
I think so, yeah.
But Brazil got beat by Germany, and then in 2006, that was the last time and the first time in a long time, I guess, since 1990. Well, I lie. 98, it was in France. But in 2006, the tournament was held in Germany, a Western continental European country. And that's the one year that there were few surprises. The biggest surprise was that Brazil didn't go farther, even though they got all the way to the quarters. But all the continental European countries did really well in that World Cup. They felt very at home in Germany, right? I mean, comfortable surroundings and environment, the way things go. And 2002, held in Asia, Korea, Japan, both got out of group. Korea got to the semifinals. Turkey, nothing to do with Far East Asia, but Turkey got to a semifinals. You wouldn't expect that from a team like Turkey, but it was a crazy setting for a tournament, right? Not crazy at the time.
Everyone were really tired for that one, I remember.
And the first one in the Far East and all that. And in South Africa, didn't we have an African team go far that year? Was it Ghana?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the Dutch got to the finals. That's the other thing. And the Dutch,
so you always have this stuff.
There's a cultural reference there, the Dutch and South Africa. So I don't know. Maybe that gives Iran half a goal.
I don't know, because Uncle Lars has booked it for everybody right here with his prediction of Group B. He is telling us to go ahead and put money on it. So, Lars, if I lose, Uncle Lars, not Lars, Uncle Lars, if I lose money on this,
the anti-Wales sentiment here is out of control. You better not show your faith in Aberystwyth ever again.
I don't dislike his spread there.
So this means the U.S. beats Wales, ties Iran, and loses to England, which is I'm 1-1-1. But that also means that Iran
and U.S. lose to England, and the U.S. lost by less goals than Iran.
Okay,
is what he's basically saying, right? Or they both beat Wales, and yeah.
But you in the preview said you thought the U.S. was going to get 3 draws, 3 points.
I thought it was very plausible, that the U.S. I think they can draw with England, but they can also This is and we'll talk about this on the show and when we preview the U.S. game on the podcast. But it's one thing to have a few guys on your starting 11 never have played in a World Cup, but when all 11 walk out on that field, walk down through that tunnel, line up for the national anthem, representing their country for the first time in a World Cup, that moment can consume you a little bit.
I would think
Right?
so.
And
yes.
then your first few touches, you are really you're thinking that damn, I'm playing in a World Cup, right?
Yes.
And so it takes like 20 to 30 minutes to like get through that and then just get in the flow of things. And so hopefully, there's no ill effect to that in terms of the score line against Wales, because Wales will go through the same thing. Don't
Yeah.
forget that.
Can I just throw this out there as well? I mean, this might be put the frighteners into you, but if in this ongoing U.S. Wales or Iran discussion, the thing that concerns me on your behalf is that in tournament football, what often works well, or the teams that tend to surprise, tends to be teams who are solid at the back and have a couple of difference makers up front, right? And that's kind of the opposite of you guys right now. Like, I adore your midfield, and you got some good creative players, but we're all a little bit uncertain about the center halves and the goalkeeping situation, and we're not totally sold on the striker situation. So I feel like your guys are kind of the opposite of the qualities I look for in a typical tournament team.
Lars, the interesting thing, I think that is a perspective that we all have. But the data tells us that the U.S. was one of the best teams, at least in qualifying, at keeping the number of opportunities created against them very low.
Who were you playing against, though?
Okay.
Yeah, the issue that U.S. will have against Wales is exposure on dispossession in their third.
I think the Wales game is simply going to come down to set pieces.
Okay, so this is how it happens. Dispossession in their third, exposure to the counter, foul, set piece.
Or corner
goal.
kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Big Kiefer Moore in the area causing chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be pretty, but I don't agree. I don't disagree with our dear listener, Uncle Lars, that Wales could very easily end up bottom of this group. But I just know from bitter experience that, I mean, I've written off a Welsh international team before, and it usually does come back to bite you. I think I had them bottom of their Euros group, and they progressed. I mean, they do surprise people. They have an ability to do that. Now, can Gareth Bale still do that? Not being fit or good enough to start regularly for LAFC even, but he has this freakish ability to put it together for the national team.
It's weird. If you watched him in the limited amount of time he played for LAFC, it was the definition of an athlete with an on-off switch. The off switch was on off. That doesn't make any sense. The switch was set to off 90% of the time, and he would just kind of like putz around and not do anything. And then when the moment happened, that switch would hit and he would do something absolutely magical. If you go back to the final, Lars, did you ever get a chance to watch the final by chance?
I watched extended highlights.
Okay. After he gets substituted on, he doesn't touch the ball a lot, but then there's a moment, I think this is before extra time, where he gets a ball in the box and produces a skill move and just literally just almost like rainbows the ball over his head and over his defender to create an opportunity. And it's such a magical skill moment that is something you don't see a lot of in MLS. It's one of those things you see it and you go, okay, there's the next level. That's where it is. And then, of course, the header to essentially tie the game to send it to penalty kicks was an athletic feat that came out of nowhere. And that's just what I think is the kind of stuff that he's capable of doing that I'm really scared about against the U.S.
So, Lars, you mentioned that Wales has a tendency to surprise, right? Is that because in the 2020 Euros, they reached the round of 16?
Yeah, they got out of that group, but then you can turn it around and say that wasn't so much them surprising as Turkey being abysmal. I mean, that's
but also I don't know if we know of other time. I mean, they haven't qualified for a World Cup since '58, and that was the first time they'd ever qualified for a Euro.
Yeah, but if you go back to the Euros before that in France, they got to the semis. Like they knocked out Belgium.
Right. So so
golden generation Belgium.
Yeah, it's that one good run.
Shit, Belgium.
Right?
Yeah, but it's not just that they did it. It's like that crazy winning goal was scored by like Hal Robson-Kanu, who's not a good player. It's like
Yeah.
suddenly turning up and doing this incredible technical feat.
Yeah.
It's like it
Like,
is.
where did that
kind of-
come from, right?
Yeah, it is one of those sort of Twilight Zone teams
Yeah.
where when they turn up for the national team, so many of those guys have several times, not just once, but several times, done things that they just aren't able to do for their club sides.
Right. Yeah.
And you see, and this is so rare in modern football, you see players whose international careers accelerate their club careers, not the other way around. But the big guy up front, Kiefer Moore, was kind of drifting a little bit in the league system over here and wasn't having a great career. And he was picked as almost like an emergency solution, just to have a body, let's say, a striker with a pulse up front for Wales. And then he did really well because he's very tall and awkward. And on the back of that, he's moved up the leagues and he's playing in the Premier League now. Now they are a very strange team, Wales, and I find that they kind of defy analysis a little bit, which does worry boring pragmatists such as myself, because I quite like my analysis. I like to be right, and they often do things that I don't expect, and it confuses me.
I've said this here. I've said it on the preview. I've said it on other things that I've made appearances on. I can see a scenario where the U.S. loses all 3 games. I can see a scenario where the U.S. wins the group. I have no idea how this thing's going to shake out. And this is weird because, Andy, as an American fan who have watched so many of these World Cups, I always go into these tournaments with my expectations set to low. And it's because the U.S. on paper always has a roster not as good as the teams that are in the group. And for the first time in my lifetime, we are going into a World Cup where the roster filled with professional soccer players playing on the best clubs from around the world, specifically Europe. And I don't know how to balance that.
But it's not just about roster. That's why it makes
listen,
you think.
let me finish.
Yeah.
I don't know how to balance that with the fact that the team is so young, because that latter thing, the youth of the roster, tells me keep your expectations low. But the experience, there's guys playing Champions League on this team, more than one. And they're playing in big European matches week in and week out.
Intangibles matter in World Cups and tournaments. And it's not just the quality of the roster. It's quality of the roster is extremely important, but the quality of your coach,
Sure.
how simply you can play, how well you can put a simple system in place.
X2. Yes.
But simplicity, if there's any World Cup where simplicity is going to matter a lot, it's this one.
This one, yes. And that's why Berhalter, in my mind, that's a concern. We've talked about this endlessly on the show, is that it just feels like he overcomplicates something that needs to be simple because he's so he's so dogmatic about playing a system versus.
All right. So then we have the coach intangible. The other one is experience, yes, but lack of experience in a way.
In the
also.
same,
In the same. So
a lack of World Cup experience.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because World Cup experience is different than Premier League experience or
it's like
MLS experience.
It was cool when Pulisic, walked out on the field for Champions League. That's one of those childhood things. Oh, I'm playing in Champions League. But every kid who grows up playing soccer, football, calcio, football, anywhere in the world, what their dream is World Cup. Their ultimate dream is World Cup. And so when it's happening to you, when you're 22 and you're walking out for the first time, and this all these guys are going to be walking in that same moment, they'll get past it, but there's going to be a certain impact of that early on in that first game. And that's what I worry a little bit about. Huh?
Even for the Welsh?
And also for the Welsh. I think that's what helps a little bit because the Welsh too, right, Lars? I mean, these guys have played at a high level and all that, Euros, but World Cup, it's their first 2 wearing that jersey.
Yeah, it is. I still think they had that sort of, oh my God, I can't believe we're here thing at the Euros first time around, and that went well. Right. So True. I do completely agree with you that there are pressures. I think for me, the biggest thing that distinguishes international football from club football is the balance and the chemistry of the group, because there's so much less time to work on tactics and connections and stuff, even less so now, of course. So I think that's how well your team gels together. And I guess, I mean, you guys will know this better than me and you can expand on it. You've been pretty stable in terms of team selection. I mean, Berhalter hasn't been changing too much. It's most of these players have played a certain number of games together.
Actually, this is fascinating, and I have to update this. I had been keeping a spreadsheet through the entirety of Berhalter's run as manager of the national team. Now, I haven't updated it completely yet, but I'm 99% sure that this World Cup is going to represent the first time in the entirety of his career as national team manager that he will have available to him at the same time in the same game Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Giovanni Reyna, Yunus Musa, and Tyler Adams, and Brendan Aronson, all at the same time. He's never had, in fact, if you really break it down, he's almost never had any of those five in groups of even two over the course of the entire qualifying tournament.
Yeah, it hasn't been by choice to not play a consistent lineup. It's just been because
Health
of injury.
issues.
Health issues, exactly. So he would have rather have been as consistent as possible. I think we all would have rather the two center backs been the same pair for a while now.
Sure.
It was Zimmerman and Robinson. That was when they were paired together in the first few games they played together. This is like a year ago now. They look great. I mean, it was like, man, if they can play together for a year, we are solid in the back, and it didn't happen.
Or even with Chris Richards.
And then subsequently, right?
Yeah, we all felt very good. The center back issue for the U.S. is something that's relatively new as a concern because of Robinson's injury.
Yeah.
And set pieces are going to be important. And
Lars, do you feel left out when we talk U.S.?
No, not at all. No, I'm kind of used to it. We haven't been to a tournament for ages. I'm completely used to this.
Okay. I just want to make sure you feel included, and we're not, since you're...
He follows MLS, Pete.
That's true.
Casually these days. I don't want to claim.
Is this where I get to start to rant about the new MLS Apple TV deal that they announced today?
Yeah, because this is the funny thing is that your initial reaction was that the number was way too high, but me being a football fan based in the UK, I was like, that's really cheap. I mean, compared to what we have to pay for like anything.
Okay, that's a great question. So in England, I'm assuming there is a subscription service that you can pay for. Well, actually, I know this. I know the answer. There is no subscription service in England that allows you to watch any Premier League game on any weekend because of the blackout rule, correct?
Yeah, so you there's a lot of games you don't get anyway. And even if you want to see everything within what you get, you have to have effectively 3 subscriptions. I mean, really 2. But you have to have Amazon Prime as well because they have some games occasionally.
And so what is all that like? What does that cost?
I try not to think about it, Pete, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, here in the States, Peacock is the streaming service. Now, you don't get all of the Premier League games with Peacock. You have to watch some of them still on network NBC or have a cable subscription to get USA. So this is not exactly the same thing. Although in the MLS deal, there will be broadcast games and games shown for free, whatever that means.
What are we paying them for Peacock a month?
So Peacock a month is $6 a month, $5 a month.
So $60.
So it's essentially $60 for a season to get almost everything. Well, actually, you can watch all the games because they'll show games in delay. Games that they didn't show they showed on broadcast will appear in Peacock at the end of the day.
So what do you think they should have charged for the MLS package?
I would have not gone any higher than $50. My feeling is, so there's 2 parts to this that not everybody. Well, it's not a secret that this project is a mess currently because they signed the deal with Apple so late and put themselves in a situation where they have to literally build their own network, that they didn't give themselves enough time. And so there's a lot, like the guy they originally hired as the program director quit a few days after taking
the executive producer.
The executive producer, and they're still scrambling to replace him. So my point is I don't think the saying, you only get to make your first impression once. And what I'm worried about is charging $100 for a product in its first season is not going to be great.
Okay, so how about you charge $50 the first year because it's not going to be a great product, but then you have to raise it to $99 year 2. That's also kind of ugly.
Well,
I mean, psychologically, right?
ESPN, Disney, Netflix have been doing this now for a while. Here's my other thinking. My background is I spent 5 years in the OTT business. The company I work for built all the original streaming apps for all of NBC, Oprah, Scripps, the Dallas Cowboys. And one of the things that they talked about back then was this growing, this was several years ago, but even back then there was a common conversation about the fears of the marketplace getting tired of paywalls. When does the general consumer run out of paywall money?
Right.
And so if I'm MLS, the idea of coming into adding yet another subscription service into people's daily budgets at $100, which is the same amount as ESPN Plus. By the way, I used to be able to watch all the MLS games on ESPN Plus for the same amount of money, along with everything else on ESPN Plus.
Right.
I just don't think that's a smart move. But I'm sure there's somebody in a business suit that says no.
Well, they look at the NFL and the Major
NBA.
League Baseball package. Those are all in the hundreds of dollars.
Well, NBA fast break or whatever it's called is essentially $100 a year.
Is it?
Yeah,
I
but
thought
it's
it was 129.
It's like 10 times the games.
Yeah.
Can
The
I say
NFL
I just checked now, and I think for the 2 subscriptions you need over here to watch the Premier League, and you still don't get everything. The Sky Sports package for sports channels is sort of 25 if you already have Sky, so let's call that 30, something like that. And I think it's 17 a month for BT on top of that. So you're paying around £50 a month.
Yeah.
£50. So it's about about the same, a little bit less.
I'm just thinking, last year, I'm a Dallas fan. I could watch every Dallas game for free.
But season ticket holders will get the package for free.
Right, but I'm not a season ticket holder.
Right, but I mean,
And
that's
now
all
I got to
part of it.
pay $80 because I'm already an Apple TV subscribe. You know, I've got Apple TV, so I'll get it for $80 instead of $100.
Okay.
It just
And is Apple setting that price?
well,
or-
that's the next question. I'm dying to know: did Steve Jobs? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Did they set the price,
Be very
or
strange.
did MLS set
My
the
feeling
price?
is that Apple did.
Well, see, I'm interested in that because Apple could write a check out of their junk drawer change and buy MLS tomorrow if they wanted to.
I know, but how much do they pay for that? I mean, they're
Well, they're paid a lot.
Yeah.
But a lot of this for Apple is them doing use cases for absorbing much larger sports leagues and doing this on a larger scale.
And branding their new platform.
And
Yeah,
branding the
yeah,
new platform.
Yeah. To other demographics.
I was surprised. I have been anticipating this news for a long time. I just was not prepared for $15 a month.
Yeah.
Or
I thought it was going to be $69. Is kind of what I was thinking.
I thought
around
so,
that,
and I still would have thought that was a high introductory price when you're trying to see. This is the thing: you're growing a league, and only some of your stuff's going to be available to everybody. And it just $100 barrier to entry just seems like a weird thing to do when you're trying to grow your viewership when ratings have been such a problem.
If we only had a model where at home we could have one box and get all the channels from that one box, like we could get hundreds of
I
channels
know.
on that
Yeah,
one box,
that's-
pay one monthly fee.
That's so Gen X of you, Andy. It's so old man of you. There you go. All right. Lars.
We put Lars to sleep. Sorry, Lars.
Lars, it's bedtime.
we got
for
into
you.
nerd.
It's not. It's
broadcast.
back to work time for me. It's the
Oh,
last
no.
week before the tournament. There's no bed.
It is kind of a weird. We just got Anyway, it is a weird tournament in so many ways. We'll talk about it when we do our Sunday pod.
Yeah. Well, a big appreciation to people like Uncle Lars for all of his comments, and I'm sorry we didn't get to share all of them. And Teresa and everybody, the few people that watched this, I think this was a successful test run. I will
Was
hear
it?
back from corporate because this is really a large. This is really the point to this.
Since
Is some Westwood One Cumulus Mucky Muck heard we were doing this, and we were told they wanted to watch it.
God.
We were going to do this on Friday. They're like, no. Mr. Mucky Muck can't do it Friday. So we decided to do it today to accommodate because they're very kind to help us out. And so hopefully it went in, went over very well.
Well, since we have a very small number of listeners right now, and you guys are, of course, our best friends.
Is this where you're going to tell a dirty joke?
No, this is when I'm going to turn off the background here.
Oh.
so you can see
Let's see what the
the
Lars,
haunt-
the home of
haunted-
Lars.
The haunted. Oh, there we go.
Well,
There
no
we
wonder
go.
why you fell over and broke your ankle. Look at that place.
No, this is up. You see, there's the there's a visual gag in place there.
What does it
Because
say? I can't see. Hold
it's-
on. I'm gonna make you the screen bigger.
nice
Hold on.
No, don't make it bigger. As I haven't, I wasn't sure the digital version was going to work, so I thought I'd just
It works great,
had to
Lars.
put up a nice background. Yeah.
All right.
So
tonight,
I guess you have an executive decision to make. Do you want some kind of virtual barrier?
you
that
do
makes
whatever you want, Lars. I love I love the outdoor.
You're the producer of the show. This is bad producing. You have to make decisions.
You know what? I think the outdoor scene of London Bridge is pretty fartin' hilarious.
Okay.
In fact, here's your homework assignment, Lars. You need to have a variety of scenes from around London.
You know what? Yes, I can do that. I
Like-
could feasibly also have like a range of team specific backgrounds.
No.
present.
I want non-football specific scenes. The only one that I think would be really funny is if you could capture a screenshot of that little neighborhood in Richmond that they show in Ted Lasso all the time,
Okay.
where Coach Ted lives.
Yeah. I could be next to the Big Ben or something.
That would
like
be a
this.
funny
Yeah,
bit.
This sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. All right. I'm also, and Lars, I wish so badly we could have flown you here for tonight, because tonight is the night my dream comes true of showing Victory in a movie theater with Soccer Loving P1s and Andy. My wife's going to be there. Andy's wife is going to be there. Yes. Did you guys know that Andy has a wife? And we're all going to get to watch the greatest soccer movie of all time together just days before the U.S. starts a World Cup.
Sounds amazing, guys. I wish I could
Does
be there,
it?
man.
I wish you could be there. And tomorrow, Lars, you're doing a big appearance tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, we're having. I mean, I was about to start going to selling tickets mode, but I think we're pretty much sold out, and it's in London. So, for you guys, that's not really relevant.
Is it being streamed live like
Oh
they've
God,
done on
yes,
the
it
others?
is. Yes, I should sell the tickets. Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
please do.
So,
Are you aware of this, Andy?
Well, just from the
The
WhatsApp.
Football Weekly? Yeah.
We're doing a live show with the Guardian Football Podcast, Football Weekly, with Max Rushton hosting, Barry Glendenning always there at his
big
side
wigs.
as the main sidekick. Where Welsh comedian Ellis James, huge friend of the show, we love him very much. He's coming on, and I'm there as well. Exciting news is I think Barry has hurt his toe, so we might be 2 out of 2 on 2 out of 4 on crutches on the stage. So
You
I
guys
think the
can
whole thing's
compare
going to have
injuries.
more of a geriatric vibe than we were really aiming for. So we've more or less sold out a venue in London's very trendy eastern part, and we are going to be streaming it online as well. So that's
All right. Well,
if you
when
just
the
follow
day
me on Twitter, I'll be posting a link at some
when
point.
the day finally comes that we get you here in Dallas, I promise we will do a live appearance somewhere. It may be a tiny little bar or something, but we will do a live appearance where we'll sit in front of everybody and let everybody meet Lars in person.
And ask questions.
And ask questions, yes.
Sounds great.
And you get to show your scars.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not bendy enough to show them right now, but they're pretty nasty. I got my crutches there though, and my walker.
Very good.
We need to let
All right.
Lars go. Back
All right,
to
Lars, go
work.
do your stuff. Go back to work, and we will talk to you on Sunday, our good friend.
Thank you very much, guys. See you then. Bye.
All right, later, Lars. All right, thank you, everybody, for watching. Andy and I will be live Saturday 2 to 4.
Mhm. Yes, sir. World Cup
then-
preview.
Yeah, listen to all your World Cup group previews, the primer, that's all on the feed, and then we do the radio show Saturday, and then we go live on Sunday. All right, thanks, everybody. We will see you then. Bye.